So if you're a buyer right now, what you should be looking for is getting a discount on the average. So in a condo building, you want to be in the lowest price per square foot or the lowest price. In the neighborhood, on comparable homes, you want to be the lowest price as well. So this is where you have negotiating power as a buyer. But when it recovers, you generally do not have that. Over half of Canadian renters say they're ready to buy a home. And the reason for this is simple. Prices are falling and buyers have all the leverage right now to strike a deal. So stay tuned as I break down exactly why smart renters are getting ahead of the curve, what kind of deals are actually out there right now, and how to position yourself to buy smart before the crowds do come back. Hi, my name is Zen. If you enjoy my data-driven and number crunching real estate updates, be sure to like and subscribe. So Financial Post's headline says, more than half of Canadian renters are eager to buy a home, according to Royal LePage's latest Canadian Renters Report. Now, I'm going to break this down into the nuances so that you actually understand, if you're a buyer, what you need to know, because there's a lot of things that will make this headline true, and at the same time, there's a lot of things that are going to make this headline completely false. It all comes down to nuances and not these clickbaiting headlines. So let's break it down. So it says that a lot of would-be buyers are holding out for interest rates and prices to drop further before jumping in. And I've debunked a lot of this in the past before, but I'll give you a quick summary. If you are waiting for interest rates to drop, it's terrible. The general guideline is you should date the rate, marry the price. And that basically means you should focus on having your price as low as possible as opposed to the rate, even though everybody that's a first-time home buyer generally focuses on what their monthly payment is. Yes, the lower the rate, the lower your monthly payment, but if you have a better price, over the 25 or 30 years, you'll be paying off that mortgage, you'll be paying less total dollars. Now, the other one is where the prices are going to be dropping, and this is generally hard to predict. And I've talked about a lot of this in the past before, where you never know where the bottom is, and it's almost impossible to time. But what I will show you is this, and I talked about it briefly before. So this is a chart I put together for what smart buyers are doing. You do not wait for what prices are going to look like on average, which is late data that's looking in the past. You basically want to strike when fear is the highest. So if you were to be buying right now, let's say in this area, 85 cents on the $100 of that property from the peak, this is where you actually don't buy what the average is of $85. You should be buying below that and give yourself plenty of buffer. Because in this fear zone is when sellers are willing to let properties go for more. But when you know that the bottom has happened and people can see that there's a recovery, and that's generally when people jump in on the way up because people feel better, and that's why we have all of these bubble-like effects. That's when a lot of sellers aren't going to be willing to drop the price to say like $80 or $75 on the $100 of actual value from before. And that's because they know that the bottom is behind us. So if you're a buyer right now, what you should be looking for is getting a discount on the average. So in a condo building, you want to be in the lowest price per square foot or the lowest price. In the neighborhood, on comparable homes, you want to be the lowest price as well. So this is where you have negotiating power as a buyer. But when it recovers, you generally do not have that.
Quick sidebar, if you're buying but not sure where to start or what's even a good deal, just hit the link in the description below, tell me what you're looking at, and I'll break it all down for you. No fluff, no BS, just real talk from a human and not just another chatbot.
Now, this is the actual Royal LePage report about who is waiting to buy and how many of them are actually waiting for prices to drop as a percentage. Now, do keep in mind, they surveyed about 1,800 people. So in Toronto, you can see that about 45% of people are waiting for prices to come down. They don't say how much they come down. And there's one comment that the CEO of Royal LePage said that history suggests that they, the buyers, may be disappointed because over the past 75 years, home values have risen approximately 5% annually ahead of inflation. And while I agree with them to a certain extent, I think a lot of it could be debunked. And the fact that he's also saying Canadian doesn't apply to a lot of Torontonians. Do keep in mind, if you look at the 2024 survey, you can see that there was 28% people who are waiting for prices to decline, which is lower than this year. So there is some semblance of saying, hey, look, there's a lot of pent-up buyers out there. And I do agree, but whether you should be buying or not really is depending on what you're trying to buy. So if we zoom into specifically freehold properties in Toronto, this is the months of inventory that I've always looked at to dictate where the prices are going to go. And I'm going all the way back from 2019 until currently right now. And I've said this in the time before. Anything that is under 4 months of inventory, and this is the 3.5 line, generally means it's a seller's market where prices should be going up very slowly if it's around 4. Now, when you get into under 2 months of inventory, that's when prices really start going up. And you can see that in the last 6 years, we have the highest months of inventory that we've ever had in the Toronto freehold space, which means that if you are a freehold buyer right now, market conditions are very comparable to 2019 before the pandemic was kind of making things crazy, where you can negotiate on certain properties. But it's not like prices are going to be coming down any further. So from this perspective specifically, I do agree with Phil Sofer's analysis that you should be looking to buy your freehold space right now in Toronto. Now, it's a totally different story when we talk about condos. Now, if you look at the prices in the last 6 years for specifically Toronto freehold properties, which is what I have over here, you can see that we are at this dotted white line right now, currently in 2025. And you can see that the closest line to us right now is the orange line, which indicates the year 2020 during the pandemic. So prices have fallen from a high of this juncture in the last few years all the way down to around 2020 prices. So do we think prices are going to continue falling down in this direction? Yes, there's always a probability. But if you can buy a freehold home in Toronto right now when the months of inventory is still around 3 and 4, around 2022 prices, does that make sense? Absolutely. And this is why we were encouraging a lot of our first-time home buyers, if you're in the freehold market, you should go do it. However, not everybody can go from renting to buying $1 million plus entry Toronto freehold property. So this is why we need to look at the condos, which is where the entry-level product is for Toronto. And this is the exact same months of inventory chart applied for Toronto condos. You can see that we are around 7 months of inventory, which is absolutely very high. So when you get into the sub 4 months of inventory, like I said, prices generally are going up depending on how low that month of inventory go. When you become the 4 to 6 range, which is over here, prices should be stagnant. And anything over 6 generally means prices are coming down. We are clearly in prices are coming down category for the Toronto condos, and it should continue going in this manner because I continue seeing inventory piling up. So if you're a first-time homebuyer looking to buy a condo, you have to be very strategic. Can you wait a little bit longer where prices can come down? I would say the answer is yes. And when we look at the average Toronto condo prices right now, you can see we're hovering around above 700,000. I will put a caveat on this where a lot more 2 bedrooms and more expensive condos are selling right now because it's the 1 bedrooms and the junior 1 bedrooms and the bachelors that aren't selling. So it will pull the average up a little bit more. But you can see the closest line this 2025 white line is close to is the actual blue line, which is the 2021 pricing, just as things were getting crazy. So if you think about it, your freehold homes are closer to 2020, whereas your condos are still closer to 2021. And with the months of inventory being so high, do we think that there's more room to go down on pricing for the Toronto condos? The answer is absolutely yes. And this is where I would not agree with Phil Sofer's analysis that you should get into the market. And even if you are getting into the market right now, you just want to make sure that you should be trying to get as low as possible. So the average price is right here. I really think you should be striking something around over here, somewhere between the 2020 and 2019 pricing. Because as condos are selling right now with some of our clients, we can see that they've actually reverted back to that building's 2019 or even 2018 pricing, depending on how much inventory there is. So if you're buying a condo right now, just make sure you understand the dynamics of buying right now, because yes, there is some pros to it right now where you could be striking at a very, very high fear zone. You just have to understand that this fear zone may continue to go further down, so that maybe instead of even trying to aim for the $78, $77 out of 100, maybe even go lower. So just understand that. And if you want a better and deeper explanation of this chart on how to time things and how some condos are actually really good deals that we've seen in the past, make sure you check out the video that's on the screen right here where I break it all down for you. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya.